Welcome in, everybody, to Sports Prophet TV. I am Cooper, aka the Sports Prophet. With me, as always, is my co-host Garrett at Just Some Footy on Twitter, and this is the MLS Live podcast. We, of course, are talking match week 6. Very excited to get into it. Profitable week last week on our betting predictions. We've got plenty of player news and more predictions to get into for the 6th week of Major League Soccer. Before we get to that, though, I want to talk about BetUS. I have people DM me all the time on Twitter. Friends sometimes text me and ask me for a reliable sports book. There's a lot of, there's local bookies, there's Twitter bookies. Don't mess with any of that stuff. Get yourself a reliable sports book that's going to pay you on time every single time. And BetUS right now is offering a very generous deposit bonus, 200% up to $3,750. If you're interested in taking advantage of that bonus, that will be in the description of this video. But with that, match week 6, Garrett, how we doing?
Good, man. Good. I'm actually really pleased with last week. That was a really tricky week. With players missing for international break, and the MLS just has too many games in their schedule to take time off for it. And so you had to really pick and choose your spots, and no losses. So I will take it. We played a little conservative, got some pushes, but no L's, and that's what the game's about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought that was a, we call handicapping an abstract art pretty often, or at least I do. And I think that was a well-crafted piece of art last week between the both of us. I think I saw you mention on Twitter a case definitely could have been made for a couple of your both of your draw no bets easily could have been probably full winners at plus money, but profitable week, so we won't complain too much.
Yeah, and like to show you what the kind of minefield it was going into that week, home teams in MLS were winning 60% of the time in a three-way. That is an incredible home field advantage to be winning outright at that high of a rate. And then international break comes, we have that match week, only 21% of home teams won outright.
Whoa.
So,
yeah.
So to be able to navigate the field and avoid such a trend disruptor, I think that does a little credit to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with, even the overs we were talking about before the show have been a little slow out the gate. So picking our spots well has been a good, profitable show so far this season. And luckily, we're just getting started. But let's go ahead and hop right into player news. And while we are getting to that, I just want to remind everybody to make sure you're following the channel, Sports Prophet TV. This is a weekly show that Garrett and I do. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up as well on the video, and we'll try to provide more winners for you guys. But we've got some player news to touch on before we get to week 6 predictions. So we'll go ahead and get that started. Garrett, as always, is our player news guy. Let's start with Brandon Vazquez, Cincinnati striker, part of that electric, attacking trio there in Cincinnati. Looks like he's getting some interest from Europe. Who's interested in Vazquez at this point?
Yeah, so there's a few teams, but one of the teams definitely named was Gladbach from Bundesliga out there in Germany. So that's a sizable club in probably the second best league in the world. Looking at him, and so it's interesting because you might remember who, but a Liga MX side offered Cincinnati, I think, close to $7 million for Vazquez in the offseason. I think
it might have been Chivas.
Okay. $7 million during the offseason. And I think it was a collaboration between Cincinnati and Vazquez both turning it down. And then now you start to understand why. Like if there was already word or rumors that, maybe Europe was looking at him, then yeah, you're obviously going to turn down Liga MX if you wait 6 months and can make a move over there. Right. I even heard a report that the one of the Gladbach personnel was in person in Nashville for this last game, scouting him,
Okay.
where he scored the only goal. So yeah, so this definitely has some legs. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the summer. Obviously, any player is going to want a move like that. That's a huge career move. But since he has him locked in till 2026, so they don't have to sell. Like they can wait for the right price or the right deal to come along. Similar to what they did with Brenner. So it'd be interesting how they deal with this. They're going to have both two of their three attacking trio possibly moving on in the summer. I don't think they can get away with denying Brenner again. And now if Vasquez goes, what does that Cincinnati team look like second half of the season? I guess the only good news for if you're an FC Cincinnati fan here is it does sound like they're in contract negotiations to extend Acosta. So
Yeah.
that's good. But yeah, like this is going to be an interesting summer for Cincy because they're going to have to replace some major attacking power.
Yeah, definitely one of the most talented attacking sides in Major League Soccer. So will definitely be interesting to follow this Brandon Vasquez situation. I want to say, I think he's 23. Uh, Obviously, he's vying for potential international, spotlight. Has not officially been called up, or I don't even think he's picked his side between the United States and Mexico yet. But if you
He's played for the U.S.
Okay, so he has played for the U.S.
Mhm.
If you end up being on a team like Borussia Mönchengladbach, then your stock pretty much almost automatically rises. But elsewhere, this was international break, so let's go ahead and we got a lot of guys that were gone, a lot of rosters that had some missing players. But a really interesting headline from this last week was Dennis Boenga, LAFC forward striker, whatever you want to call him, basically gets on a plane and flies home and drives straight to the stadium. I don't know if it was mid-game, but on just a crazy travel schedule, and ends up scoring the winning goal. Pretty wild story. You were actually telling me before the show about it.
Yeah, so he didn't play in the second international match, and so he was his legs technically would have been fresh, but this dude took a 13-hour flight from Turkey, lands in LA around 5:30 LA time, arrives at the stadium at 6:45, and I believe that was a 7:30 kickoff, like LA time. So he gets to the stadium 45 minutes before the game's supposed to kick off, and then comes on late to score the winner. It's just a fun story because I have not heard anything like this, except maybe Sebastian did it way back for Toronto back in the day,
Mhm.
like maybe, but I can't. I don't remember off the top of my head like a player doing this. So that's just wild to me. Like I wasn't on this game. I fully didn't expect this dude to even be named in the lineup. No one did. It was caught everyone by surprise. But a really cool story, right? Of a dude who's like, no, we have business to attend to. Like, so you have to like that spirit. But
Oh, we love it. Yeah,
to
and
go keep going.
I feel like LAFC is on a different level this season. I mean, as good as they were last year, they're at least as hungry. I mean, obviously, they're a repeating MLS Cup would be nice, but it looks like they've really got their sights set on this CONCACAF Champions League.
That is what their sights are on right now. And I also think you've got to try to build a buffer while you can, because there will be dog days this season for this club. Excuse me, where you've got, US Cup, you've got leagues cup, and then you've got, just regular league play where you got so many games. So like there's going to be a lot of games for this club. And so yeah, I think trying to build up a buffer early while your legs are still relatively fresh could definitely help you in the long run. But it's good to bring up Bawanga because most guys aren't like this, right? Most guys played heavy minutes while they were in international duty. And had long trips. And so they might not even feature this weekend. Like we might have more plays as it gets closer to kickoff,
Yep.
simply because we can see lineups and we know who's playing and who's not. That's really hard to decipher here. You got to watch press conferences. You got to kind of just see what is coach speak and what might actually be have legs and could be true. So it's still, even though everyone's technically back, it's still an interesting weekend, as you still might not see all your studs, all your big names, all your key players for your teams, at least not go 90.
Yeah, that's a good point. And make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at MLS Live Podcast. We had a bonus play last week. Definitely could have another one this week. So stay tuned as we get closer to actual kickoff on Saturday. If we see something that really stands out in lineups, Garrett and I will be communicating and potentially get you guys another bonus play. So make sure you're following us there. But anyways, with that, let's get to the predictions for MLS match week 6. All right, Garrett is going to start us off as always. I got a hometown play here. So what do we got cooking here, Garrett?
So I'm going to take the under 2.5 in Orlando, Nashville. And this is either the most obvious play ever or the biggest trap. Because I don't think the under 2.5 should be playable here. Like, I expected more juice. I expected to have to be looking at, maybe playing a closer line of 2.25.
Yeah.
I just don't know where 3 goals comes from if you get these teams playing how they normally play, right? So Orlando's only conceding 0.8 goals a game. Now their expected goals conceded is 1.28. Not a huge difference, but it doesn't help that Nashville can't score. Their expected goals a game is only 1.4. They're only conceding 0.4 goals a game. Like they are tied with the league for clean sheets. So 60% of the games so far this season have been clean sheets. For Orlando, Torres played in both international games, including going 60 minutes, the last one.
Yeah.
So I would be surprised if he starts. Could he see the game? Absolutely. But it would surprise me if he started this one, considering he's gotten 2 games in over the break. That's obviously a huge issue for Orlando. He's a big string puller for them. I mean, if you look at their last game, they scored 2 goals in the first 9 minutes and then did nothing after that. And it was just like, they were good goals, but not something that they're going to get on the regular.
Right.
So under 2.5 is hitting all of Nashville's games this season. So maybe I'm just being, a sucker and hoping to go 6 for 6 here. Orlando's this under has missed in the last 2 Orlando games. But Nashville's one of the best defensive sides in the league. And they showed it last week where you had 32 combined shots versus Cincy, and that game ended 1-0. So we'll see. We'll see if this is just like the ultimate trap. But this line just stared me in the face as soon as I looked at lines when they opened. And this is super playable for me. I don't know why it's this price.
Yeah, I don't really believe in traps, and I wouldn't categorize this as one either. I think sometimes you have situations where the market will adjust, and then you have positive or negative regression due in one way or the other. But I don't think this is one of those situations. Like, I don't think either of these teams have positive goal regression coming. We have a pretty good feel for who these 2 teams are. I love that Nashville. I love the way Nashville plays on the road. And they are on the road here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I love the way that Nashville plays on the road. Already a conservative team, sound defensively, obviously. One of the better, if not the best, back lines in Major League Soccer. They're going to ramp that up even more on the road. Orlando also, almost cut from the same cloth, the way that they like to play. And the big thing about Orlando is that, I think Kara, the Austrian striker, is their DP, and he's just not that guy. Like, he's just not the goal scorer that they thought they were getting. Or no, is Torres their DP?
No, Torres is the DP, but Kara is the DP as well.
Okay, so they're both DP. So he's not the goal scorer that they originally thought they were getting. I don't know where the goals come from either. I didn't look to see where this line opened, but under feels comfortable here. You're hoping for no silly deflections or own goals or anything, but both have solid back lines, solid keepers. And we pretty much, I think we know what we're going to get from these guys. This feels like a worst case scenario 1-1 draw, which would be totally fine. But yeah, I'm on board with this one. This is one that I had circled on my end as well. So, all right, moving along to the next one. I'm going to move on to my first play of the weekend, and I'm going to go to that Cincinnati team that we were just talking about, Vasquez, who is striker for Cincinnati. Going to be hosting Inter Miami here, who is dealing with a little bit of an injury bug. I think this is a great price. I'm taking Cincinnati team total over 1.5 at -125 at home here. We talked about Cincinnati's electric attacking trio with Acosta and Brenner and Vasquez. I think Vasquez scored like 18. Brenner scored like 16 goals last year, something around there. And then Acosta was tops in the league. I think he had 10 goals himself, but he was also tops in the league in assists. He was definitely up there. So really good attacking side in Cincinnati. And I wrote something down here about Cincinnati. So they're top 8 so far this season in big chances created. That's pretty good, but it gets even better. And we talked about positive regression. I think they've got some positive regression coming here in actual goals, because here's who they created those big chances against. Sounders, number 2 in expected goals allowed. Nashville, number 3 in expected goals allowed. Houston Dynamo, number 5 in expected goals allowed. And Chicago Fire, number 9 in expected goals allowed. So they are top 10 in creating these big chances against 4 top 10 defensive units in Major League Soccer. Inter Miami, meanwhile, they're number 7 in expected goals allowed. So this will be far and away the worst defensive setup that Cincinnati has had to play all season. They're also dealing with a little bit of an injury bug. Gregor, their team captain, is out in the midfield. That can have effects on the defense. Their best rated defender this season has been the Argentine Franco Negri. He's their starting left back, and he's the highest rated defender according to FootMob. He left the game with a late injury. I'm not sure if he's going to be back or not. I like this play either way, regardless of whether he's back or not. I think this is a very, very generous price, especially considering Cincinnati's at home and Miami's going to play an attacking brand of football here. So, yeah, I'm all over this.
Oh, I like Cincy's attack. Since he's at home, that's an obvious bonus. But yeah, since Gregor has gone down, Miami's given up 5 goals in 2 games.
Yeah,
he was that key holding midfield piece to really protect that back line, and they have been exposed since he's been out.
Yeah, even against the likes of Chicago with Kasper Shabilko up top. I mean, he's definitely not a world beater by any means, and I think Chicago dropped 3 on him last game in Miami. So love this spot. I also like the next spot that you're about to tell us about. Shout out to that badass kit that you're wearing. What are you rocking here?
So yeah, I'm all over Seattle this weekend. This is a really interesting line considering who they're playing. I don't know. So I'm going to take both. I'm going to have most of my bet on the draw no bet, but I probably will put anywhere between a quarter to a half unit on the money line as well. It's just hard to pass up that price. But Seattle lead the league in expected goals with 11. They're averaging 2.2 goals scored a game. They're first in big chances created, second in big chances missed. I haven't used that stat a lot yet because you kind of need some time for it to get going. Right. But anyone who's watched us like over the past few seasons knows that's a stat I love because that lets you know goals are coming. They're creating them, and so they're about to score. So think about it that you already lead the league in expected goals, and you're now still the best at creating those chances, and you have positive regression coming. Like that's just too much for me to ignore.
Yeah.
They also have the second best defense in the league, with expected goals conceded being 0.78. They just don't give up goals. They obviously are better at home than away. That's pretty much every team in the MLS, but they're playing a Galaxy side that just cannot get it together, and looks like they missed Chicharito more than I ever thought they would. Like we thought Chicharito goes down, Jovic is going to step right in. He was a stud last season coming off the bench, scoring every time he came in for 30 minutes. And it's just not that way. I think the sell of Araujo definitely has played a part here. Now Caligari, the replacement they brought in, did get his full debut last match. Looked good. But it's still going to take a little time to get synced in with what the Galaxy want to do. The Galaxy are near the bottom in goals a game with 0.5 a game. Their expected goals are less than 1 at 0.96. They're near the bottom since I brought up big chances. They're near the bottom in both big chances created and big chances missed. So there's just nothing on the horizon that says this team is going to start banging in goals left and right. And their expected goals conceded a game is 1.12. I with all of that, with how Seattle's playing, Seattle doesn't have any distractions this season like last season with CONCACAF.
Right, exactly.
And this is the window. Like Seattle is all in for this season, and it shows by how they're playing. I just don't know how you don't take stabs at these plus money lines. Granted, I just talked about what the home side does in MLS, but you got to find those diamonds in the rough. And I just don't see how Galaxy take all 3 points here. Like I'm willing to lose a half unit or less on the money line if they draw for some reason, but this is just too good of a spot for Seattle, in my opinion.
Yeah. I can't put my finger on exactly what the deal is with Galaxy, but they are stale. I mean, they have definitely declined even from last season, and they made all the changes. They sold some of their wing players and didn't really shake it up enough, I guess. So definitely stale, I think would be the right word of what's going on with the Galaxy. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man, about the Sounders. They have no Champions League to worry about here. Like they are, we wrote them off as old, and washed up a little bit at the end of last year because the injury bug had hit them so hard, and they went and won Champions League, and then they tanked and totally missed the playoffs. Mostly the same team that we've got back here for Seattle, but nothing else to worry about except for league play. And these guys have been a machine. They look like the old Sounders that we've come to love. And our guy QT in the chat right now is a big Sounders guy. So shout out Q. But
this team had quite a few players away for international break. Coach Speak, if you listen to the press conferences, he probably runs out of sides similar that he did with Kansas City. But if Leo Chu, if this is like the moment where he starts to break out, I've waited for this kid to break out for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
If this is the coming out season, I mean, Seattle's just better and better. So I do expect to see some of those international players back. But we'll see. Maybe not all of them, but I'm still comfortable because of how just inept Galaxy are right now, taking a Sounders B squad here.
Yeah, I like it. I think this line probably, like some of the other lines that we give out during the week, will probably come down a little bit as we get closer to match day. But this next one that you got for us, Garrett, I'm maybe the most excited about of all 3 of your plays. I think I might like this one the most.
Sounders opened at plus 300, by the way. So it's
okay. So already on the way down. Yep.
So yeah, I'm finally digging my heels on San Jose. They were a preseason pick of mine to make the playoffs. I said this. I even tweeted at some guys, some bigger reporters that I think San Jose is going to be the most improved team this season overall. And I think this is a great spot to take their money line against a Houston side that just struggles when they have to leave big Texas. So they're if you look at just the I know this league has been short already with only 5 games, but if you look at the home sides and
Yeah.
how they've played, San Jose's up there as one of the best home sides to start the season. They are great at creating chances, and they do. I think they're top 4 in big chances missed. So again, I'm starting to tap into one of my favorite stats that lets me know goals are coming.
Yep.
What really sticks out is their expected goals is already twice as much as their actual goals scored. Their expected goals is over 8, and they've only scored 4 goals this season. So
Yep.
they're creating good looks, and they get a Houston side that has 2 away games this season, 2 L's, and has given up 5 goals in their 2 away games. So this is just a spot where I think San Jose can really break out. They might give one up. So if you're just super greedy and want to go San Jose plus both teams to score and try to look for a 2-1 or a 3-1, I don't hate it. But here's where I'm riding that home field advantage with a team that looks like they're ready to start pouring in some goals. And I think all the trends back San Jose here.
Yeah, I'm all over this too, man. I'm gonna be on this one officially as well. Big time cosign for me on this one. Yeah, I've watched this Houston Dynamo team probably more than I wish I had this year. I've watched them almost 2 full games. I watched them against New England. No, I watched them against Cincinnati, and then I watched them against Austin because I had a bet on Houston a couple weeks ago. But dude, they just, oh man, I mean, it's not just a lack of talent. They just don't have anything going forward. They're just not dangerous. You made a good point. I think a couple weeks ago about them. They're working hard, but you can only get so far with the talent that these guys have on their roster, and they just are lacking big time. I think this is a great spot for San Jose to really have a coming out party at home, like you said, which is great because these guys have always been better at home. We've talked about this team specifically. The Earthquakes have obviously improved, and it's going to take some time for the books to adjust. I don't think they've really adjusted yet. This is a great spot, man. I'm all over this with you.
Another
love
line
San Jose on the spot.
where there's already been movement. San Jose opened up at minus 105.
There you go. So,
these lines we're taking, we've already. Now, granted, I said it was actually a blessing in disguise that we did the show today instead of yesterday. Yesterday, Philly over 2.5 would have been one of my biggest plays. And today, Andre Blake was practicing. So he's going to be back this weekend. It all looks like it. I don't like the 2.5 now with Blake back, right? So, so you get that blessing in disguise, but you did lose some sense, like we've lost some value on San Jose and some value on Seattle already. So definitely this is why we try to get this early. We try to give you those really early looks because you do have to get closing line value to be profitable long term. It's not the end all be all. Closing line value does not mean your bet's going to win. It doesn't mean that you're great at capping, but you do
save you a lot of money though.
You do have to get it consistently in order to be profitable long term. So just some looks we really like. There's other places that I'm a fan of too. Again, it's lineup specific. So definitely be following us, and you will get those plays as well. Absolutely. Houston have a coaching problem though. It's Ben Olsen. Like that hiring raised eyebrows across the league anyway. And Ben Olsen's teams always work hard, but they have no shape, no form, no teams tell a story, right? When they're playing.
Yeah.
I think I think Houston season long, because they just brought in a center back from one of the Scandinavian sides. I think season long, Houston will be a team that's difficult to break down, but they're not going to threaten much. And it's just they're a team very much like Dallas in a sense, where if they're home, okay, you might be interested in them being able to hang in there. Away though, they lose all consistency.
Yep, definitely agree. Okay, last part of the show, favorite part of the show, of course, the Super Collab is what we're talking about. I will start us off on the Super Collab with the first leg. This is a part of the show where basically we pick two really good spots, whether they're alt lines or a double chance or an alt total or an alt under sometimes. And we put them together and we try to get you guys good value, a good price, and hopefully cash a ticket. I'm going to be going a little bit breaking a rule here. I'm going Vancouver double chance at home against Montreal. And the reason I say I'm kind of breaking a rule is because 4 days after this game is a CONCACAF Champions League game between Vancouver and LAFC. That's obviously a massive game for Vancouver. So a little bit of a look ahead spot. And typically I'm careful about that, but I just cannot overlook how toothless and how Swiss cheesy Montreal has been. They're just bad. I mean, these guys they've been completely gutted. Montreal was a great team last year. Montreal was second in the East last year, 2 points off of winning the East behind Philly. That's how good this Montreal team was a year ago. But Mihailovic has gone to the Netherlands. Kone is gone to Watford in the English Championship. Alistair Johnson is in Scotland with Celtic. And the most important missing piece or the most important departure is Wilfred Nancy, one of the best coaches in Major League Soccer. He's gone. He's in Columbus now. So I've been impressed with Vancouver. They're at home here. I think they've looked great for most of their games, like 80% of their games. Of course, they've had a couple of lapses late in games and stuff like that. But I know it's a look-ahead spot. But to me, there's a big difference between where these two teams are at right now, and I cannot see them dropping, all 3 points here at home. I just couldn't see it.
This is an interesting choice because I don't hate it. I almost put the draw in as one of my plays, and it's like plus 250 or 260 wherever you're at. This has draw vibes to me heavily.
Okay.
Montreal are disjointed. They're just trying to do, we've talked about it. It's too much change at once, too much player turnover, a completely different coaching philosophy. It's just too much at one time. They're going to be disjointed and dysfunctional here for, I think, most of the first half of the season, at least. And then you've got a spot where Vancouver is going to be looking toward LAFC, even though they've got 3 days off in between. They might start a strong lineup here.
Yeah.
I don't think you see the best Vancouver side you're going to get, right? Because they have arguably the best team in the league they're going to have to go up against in CONCACAF. And who doesn't want to win CONCACAF? And they know LAFC is going to be raring for that. That plays into my leg, which I told y'all a couple episodes ago. Anytime I can get a Colorado under 3.5 at a parlayable price, I'm taking it. I do not care the opponent. Give me LAFC. I don't care. LAFC has to think about Vancouver. They might need those an away goal or two in that leg. That's not going to be an easy match in Vancouver, in my opinion. And while LAFC are uber talented, I mean, they just have great players all over the place. They are not incredibly deep. They have 4 attackers that they rotate through with Vela, Boenga, Opoku, and Buick. And that's it, man. Like, you might see Christian Torres come out a little bit, but like there's a huge talent gap when you start talking about Torres.
Yep.
In midfield, it's Sanchez, Acosta, Tillman, and Sifu. After that, you still have a huge talent gap when Dunes or whoever else comes in, right? And so, like, I cannot see those guys going balls to the wall in this match at the elevation, coming off international break. It just doesn't make sense to me with Vancouver on the horizon. I think LAFC wins this, sure. At best, I think it's 2-1 or 3-0. 4 goals here would surprise me a lot. This is a game where LAFC is going to want to try to get points and get out, and move on to CONCACAF. And so I like that we have similar thought process here when breaking down these two sides for this collab piece. So yeah, like I said, Colorado under 3.5 is one of my favorite pieces whenever. So I to get this a favored Vancouver side, and like Vancouver might not even be even money anymore. Like it's been moving toward you having to pay a little juice for Vancouver. So to get their double chance plus 3.5 goals in 5,000 feet of elevation at basically even money, I think that's great.
Yeah, I think this is a winner. A lot of good points about that under there in Colorado. Another thing I was thinking about is that, LAFC may not go balls to the walls, like you said, but the respect is still going to be there from the Rapids. So, like, they're still going to play how they play at home, which is conservative. There's going to be a lot of packing it in, and I really think this under 3.5 when the Rapids are at home is going to be such a cheat code for us. I don't want to jinx it, but it's just hard to see there being a ton of goals here. In a situation like this, the elevation is such a big deal too.
And I think I've mentioned to you this a couple of times. I'm waiting for when they rest Sanchez, because when he is out of the midfield, they are a completely different side. And so this could be a perfect spot to rest him and get him, dude's 32. He's a machine. Don't get me wrong. Like he's played basically every minute he gets to.
Yeah.
But at 32 with CONCACAF midweek, this could be a good spot to rest him. Man, I don't know if he's out. I don't know. LAFC's opened up at like plus 160 and they're like even money now or something. I don't know how you play LAFC in this matchup if he's out. Just warning to the listeners.
Yeah, I think that's a good word of caution. He's such a big part of their the way they line up, and it's like you said, it's a big drop off after him as far as depth. So
don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying take Rapids. They are a very bad team.
No, we're not saying that.
It is okay to not play a game.
Absolutely, and I like the under 3.5. Either way, he plays
100%, 100%.
Absolutely. All right. All righty. That's mostly the show for match week 6 MLS Live podcast. Garrett, do you have any other notes before we wrap it up?
No, I'm still waiting for, some people like to call MLS Major League Scoring. I'm still waiting for that to happen.
Right.
When I did some breakdowns for that home win team percentage, the over 2.5s are still hitting sub 50% league wide so far. And it's usually week 6 or 7 is when teams find their legs and start getting that cohesion. So I'll be interested to see what the goal totals look like as a whole this week, going into next week. And then I think you could feel a little more confident playing some solid overs. But yeah, sub 50% right now for you over bettors.
Yeah, that's interesting. We are going to keep an eye on stats and more so analytics than trends. Neither of us are big trends guys, more eyeballs guys than anything. But as the weeks start to kind of accrue, those analytics will start to mean more, and we'll take them into more consideration as we go. But great season so far. Appreciate everybody that is tuning in. Again, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up. And if you want to be notified when we go live next week, probably going to be Tuesday, back on our regular Tuesday, but make sure you are subscribing to the channel. Appreciate everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Best of luck.